mind that she'd hold me underwater. I took up all the time. No need the story that you're spinning. If your heart isn't in it, you get older by the minute. Girl, tell me so if it's no good. Know by now. I've been thinking in the back of my head, I feel 6 feet underwater. I'm better off dead. Oh, no need the story that you're spinning. If your heart isn't in it, you get older by the minute. Girl, tell me so if it's no good. Tell me so if it's no good. Tell me so if it's no good. Right on. My mother has a picture of me at about 3 or 4 years old, playing guitar and singing along to the Bob Ezrin-produced vinyl of Kiss's Destroyer at a church function. If you remember in the 70s, Kiss was known to stand for Knights in Satan's Service. And here I am playing it in church. Years later, I'm shopping at Bed Bath & Beyond, and who walks in but Paul Stanley from Kiss and his girlfriend. Sans wig and makeup, not her, Paul Stanley. And I followed them around like a puppy dog as they bought cute little hand towels and scented little soaps. A night in Satan's service, not so much. However, a night in scented soaps, a little more apropos. Now, I've skulked around the music business like this my entire life. I am a nice person. My wife says I'm too nice, and that makes it difficult in the music business. Because I've also struggled with, why do it if it's already been done? And when that's your personal mantra to yourself, it makes it even harder. So as a result, anytime I've ever released a record of my own music, it gets filed under some weirdo fleeting category. It's buzz hop, it's trip hop, it's alternative sock hop. Whatever the buzzword is the week the record is released, that's what they'll call it. Most people call it weirdo, moron. But that's not quite a genre yet. Music has always had a need to be genreified, to be classified, and I get that to a certain degree. For instance, if someone says, I like jazz, then you know what they like. They like jazz, it's simple. But when I started working with other bands, producing them, and writing with other songwriters, I found that in the recording studio, music isn't so much genreified as it is straight cannibalized. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say hypothetically 50 years ago, a producer could be in the recording studio and say, what's #1 on the charts right now? The Beach Boys. Very well, let's make this next number sound just exactly like the Beach Boys. Let's make some money. Now, the market would be flooded with Beach Boys sound-alikes. And luckily, people caught on to that. Thankfully, the positive was that they faded away, the sound-alikes, into obscurity. And the Beach Boys' music remained because they were original, and originality is king. Now, it still happens today, but it's been kicked up a couple of extra notches to try and trick you. If you work in music production today, inevitably you've heard the words cross between and mashup. Now what this means is that someone will come into your studio and say, our music is like a cross between David Bowie and Tom Jones. Well, that would be Davy Jones. And we've already had one of those. Our music is like a mashup of AC/DC and ABBA. It's like ACBA with a Manilow aftertaste. Really? Okay, I'd actually like to hear that one. I always wanted to work with Prince because Prince can play guitar like Jimi Hendrix. He can play piano like Thelonious Monk. He can squeal like James Brown, but still in a Prince song. All musicians are thieves, but the good ones make it untraceable. And sadly, they're few and far between. So against my better judgment, for about 10 years, I produced a lot of bands that were meant to sound like whatever was trending on the radio. But it never really worked out for those bands, not really. Now, the goal in a commercial sound-alike is to sound exactly like a popular song, so much so without getting sued. Because a company will want to use something that everyone knows, but the original artist either A, doesn't support the product that they're selling, or B, is asking for a dump truck full of money.
All right, we are good to go. So apologies about that. I did just have to like go to my settings in the separately, which was weird, but all right, but we are good. Okay, I'll just give you like an overview of some of the questions I'll ask you, and then we'll just jump straight in. The first sort of, I'll say two-thirds of the questions are just going to sort of be kind of going over the chronology of the band and everything that's going on up to today. And then I'll ask you some more at the end, maybe some, I guess you would describe them as like existential questions that are related to sort of the angle of the piece I'm going to be writing. And then we'll just see where it goes from there.
Awesome.
Wonderful. So I'll start with a sort of pretty broad question. Just generally, how did you get into music? And sort of from that, what were some of the inspirations you might say you drew um, when you began performing music rather than just sort of as a listener yourself?
I think it's always been something that I've wanted to do ever since I was probably 3, you know. I think I saw Kiss live when I was 3. I liked Kiss records. They wore makeup, they could breathe fire, and one of them, they were like comic book characters. And my brother was maybe 6, 7 years, 8 years older than me, and was a guitar player, like instantly. And so I didn't like the guitar. I wanted to play drums. So, I got drums, and I would play along to Kiss records and, lean the bar stools in and play on those before I had drums. And my brother listened to, he was, learning, rock guitar. So he had a lot of rock records. My parents had disco and easy listening and Little River Band and Eagles and stuff like that. And I was just like, the 70s stuff was so boring to me that I had access to in East Tennessee. My sister, however, was listening to Prince in high school. And so I just was like, I like that. That's rhythm. It's rhythmic. And so, just writing songs when I was a kid. Once I got drumsticks, I would go beat on, fresh barbed wire to the fields, because they would string it and it would have a tone to it, like bzzz. And each level of it was a different tone. So I'm supposed to be mowing the yard or something, but I'm beating on the fence and singing into a tape recorder. I loved recording, I think, early on, because my sister had a little cassette recorder. And from that, getting drums, and then like in our town, like there's this kid country band called Doc Jeffers and the Whiz Kids, and they're just like, we need a drummer. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna go audition for a band, And my brother was already playing in bands in high school, or middle school, cover bands and stuff, and I just looked up to him. So I auditioned for the Whiz Kids, and I got into that. So next thing I know, I'm like 13 and playing at Dollywood with them every summer, And as soon as I could drive, 16 years old, I would drive up to Bristol, Tennessee, from the Tri-Cities. I'm from Kingsport.
Mhm.
Bristol's one of the cities. And just, play at these square dance places where all these old people would just be square dancing. And I'd just be, I'd have like 2 lap steel players, and everyone's like, generations older than me. But they're like, this kid can keep a beat. Let's keep him around. So I would drive up there and just tick, 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 tick all night long, for hours,
Yeah.
and get paid $50 or whatever. All the while, like, late 80s hip hop starts to come around, and I'm just like, I discover Run DMC and this sound coming out of New York City, and there's no internet, there's no way to figure out like, what is this. It's just you get tapes and records, and then you get like the Beastie Boys and LL Cool J, and I was just hooked. I never really enjoyed country music. I like Dolly Parton, I love the Louvin Brothers, I love West Coast stuff, I love bluegrass, traditional bluegrass, but I was just born in the wrong place. Just like I'm glad that I grew up playing those styles of music, because it's all harmony based, and that's one thing that is my superpower. I can just I always hear harmonies all the time, and rhythm. So from that I got into like late 80s, early 90s R&B, and stuff like that, and was always into, and then I started playing in rock bands in college, and was a good drummer. And so in Murfreesboro, where I went to school at MTSU, there just wasn't a lot of drummers. It's a music school. They have a very renowned recording program, and so a lot of people would flock there. I found myself there, and my name got around, and so next thing I know, I was just playing in a different band, several times a week. It's like punk rock on Monday, piano pop on Wednesday, reggae on Friday, and that was cool, because that exposed me to a lot of different styles, and meeting a lot of different people that just had different viewpoints on how to make music.
I was going to bring this up a little later in the interview, but like I discovered sElf through Spotify. Actually, they've started promoting you guys' music with other bands, and I had been listening to like Tally Hall and some other sort of some of those.
Dude, the Tally Hall thing is so wild. My daughter, my son is 10. Actually, he just turned 11, and my daughter's 15. And so we would listen to Tally Hall. We listened to, she programs Japanese Vocaloid. So it's like, I listened to a lot of YouTubers. I just took them to see CG5 and got a full VIP ride, gave that dude like $600. It was awesome. Like, that guy is brilliant. But it was weird, because Spotify is what triggered this. A buddy, every other month there's a rapper that comes out like calling himself sElf. It's happened for decades. My band name is from the 90s, pre-internet. I didn't put 182, sElf 182. I should have, but sElf is ungoogleable, and so people don't do it. And they're like, I'm gonna rap, and my name's gonna be sElf. And I always have to send a cease and desist, and some of them have sued me, and it's cost me thousands of dollars to keep my name, which I established with interstate commerce decades ago. But it still just happens, and you just kind of get like, you don't care anymore. Like, screw it. Like, my fans are my fans, and they know what my artwork looks like. And the Big E or whatever I do to just be like, differentiate it. So a manager friend of mine was like, hey man, I'm gonna get you verified on Spotify. I think that's gonna get that little check mark, and let me just do that for you. So he did that, and I just noticed that my Spotify listeners just were growing, just tens of thousands of people like every day. And I was like, man, I should have gotten verified a long time ago. That's crazy. And then it just got ridiculous, where it was like 40,000. I got 40,000. What is going on? And then my song Dead Man, what I wrote and released in 2000, is like #1 song. The reason why I bring up my kids is that my daughter comes down. She's like, Dad, I think I've sleuthed it out. And she shows me her phone, and it's a video of Tally Hall listening to Dead Man, and people thinking that it's a new Tally Hall song.
Tally Hall.
Good morning. Do you want the mango?
I wrote a poem last night.
No, I don't. I don't want mango.
Come on, take some mango.
Allergic.
It's delicious.
I'm really allergic.
Are you sure?
Yeah, do you want to kill me?
With the mango?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can hear a lonely operator on the phone. She can't call home. Overseas, the burns a third degree, and the collection plate's been passed and received by me.
This dude has like a tenor voice. Like he totally knows my band. Like he sounds like me singing. And through that, like it just Dead Man is kind of on all these like TikTok videos. And so my daughter figured it out for me.
Behind every woman, there's a good man trying not to buck the hell out. To understand it, guess I'd have to be a dead man trying not to laugh
Hi, we're Self. Welcome to lunch.
You know, they always stiff me on vinyl, and I have to get on the phone, and I have to be like, where's the vinyl? Where's the vinyl? And then call the guy in the next little cubicle. Where's the vinyl? Where's the vinyl?
Behind every story, there's a quick head. Behind every smile, there's a cloud. To understand it, guess I'd have to be a dead man trying not to laugh out loud.
When I signed my first record deal, that record came out in 1995. This guy Lou Malia, he was an old school, you know, Los Angeles record guy, you know. And he told when he met my mother, he was like, "Your son's way ahead of his time, way ahead of his time." And you know, I thought that's what flattery. But it's like, I mean, there's like little kids like banging this and making TikToks to it, and it's just like, man, that's wonderful, you know, that the records do hold up, you know, and that I didn't just phone it in. I just was like, no, I want to make something new and cool, and I still try to do that in the things that I score. I'm still doing the exact same thing. It's just not packaged into a 2.5 minute pop song, and you know, I just started to find that very limiting. And when I started working to picture, I realized like, oh, these are the musical equations that my brain likes solving. You know, this is why, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I still get to write tons of songs in the shows that I do. Like the entire town can break into song, or it can be a needle drop that is basically a self song sometimes. But yeah, I'm extremely proud that my daughter sleuthed out. Like you've got a bunch of new listeners, and then you know, people will send me like Reddits, and I just hop on there, and I'm just like, what? Like everyone has everything wrong. The history that, you know, the internet is so askew, and it's just like reading these things that these people are arguing about or whatever, or where this rare thing came from or why it exists. And it's just like, man, I would love to just, and I should probably just type like, nope, that's wrong.
Do one of those, what do they call them? Ask me anythings on Reddit.
I did one, but I was actually, that was occurring while we were opening for the Killers in Portland. Because the drummer was a fan. My bass player worked for Jimmy Kimmel. The Killers played Jimmy Kimmel, and the drummer came to me like, "You're the bass player in Self. Like, I love Self. Like, would you guys want to do some shows?" And we were like, only under any circumstances would we open for the Killers. So we hadn't played shows in years. We were just like, we roughed it up, and we did 2 stadium nights with them, and it was incredible. Yeah, I'm so that was so jazzed by that I forgot what your question was.
I think we were just talking about generally about those younger fans coming in. I am interested to know, what do you think it is that?
Yes, I was doing the Reddit. So my manager was texting me like if there was a question that needed something specific, he was texting it to me, and I was answering it. So I wasn't direct with that Reddit, but I should do another one.
Yeah. What do you think it is that through today still draws those younger fans? What do you think it is about Self that sort of attaches itself to young people in general?
I think because people have such eclectic tastes now, I think I was trying to blend a lot of different things and put a lot of square pegs in round holes that hadn't really gone together yet. I was influenced, wore all my influences on my sleeve, but I was trying to cram Prince and Depeche Mode and Smashing Pumpkins and Nine Inch Nails and Weezer all into this, and funk and jazz and everything into this tiny package. And I think a lot of people can get away with that now because people are their musical ADD can accept it now. Whereas when I was putting out Self records, musicians would come to me and be like, dude, how did you do this? Like, this is really good. But the record buying, the general public it was kind of just noise to them, And I think now the general public is much more savvy because just their tastes are so eclectic with the playlisting and being able to half the stuff that my daughter listens to is 300 BPMs. And I'm like, who is this? And she's like, I don't know. She doesn't, I don't know. I found it and I liked it. So I added it to cart basically. So, I find a lot of new music through them. And the stuff that she listens to is extremely progressive, extremely half-steppy and atonal and weird. And like I said, 300 miles an hour and mostly in Japanese. So if we listen to it on the way to school, I find myself just accelerating, to 100 miles an hour. I'm like, just turn it off. I can't drive to this, So
I'm interested in talking a little bit because you mentioned it briefly, some of that early commercial experience you guys had. I've got like a sort of handful of questions there about that. I'll go ahead and move on to those. What would you think you would describe as like, if this is something appropriate to sort of think about, I guess, what would you describe as like being Self's peak, so to say? What would you just say? And then subsequently, what would you describe being in that peak? What would you describe being Self as, trying to not say being too many times, as what it was like to be Self during what you would describe as perhaps that peak, if you think that's...
I think success-wise, like just out of the gate, Lou Malia, the guy that signed us initially, they sunk $1 million into promoting the band to the industry. So we were in all the magazines, all the industry magazines, and we made videos and they were on MTV, and they didn't really play them a lot, but they were on there, and so people would recognize you, those types of things, and we would do tours where we could play with bigger bands opening, and we did our own successful tours where we would sell out, the Bluebird Theater in Denver by ourselves, and that felt very good. But most of my successes with Self are more just artistic, internal pats on the back, like being able to have a huge budget and do whatever I want to in the recording studio. Be like, I want strings on this, and then next thing I know, there's a room full of string players, and like we're doing it, We're doing the drums for this song at this studio with this engineer, and then I'm flying someone out that I appreciate from Los Angeles to do the drums for this section of the song. Like, it was just blatant, wasting money, but at the same time, like, you're making records. I was making records like my heroes made records, and that felt very good because I think I'm just more of a studio rat, and I think when you finish a good recording, that is, and it's a good song, that it's very rewarding, to your soul. So I think making probably like Breakfast with Girls. We were recording Breakfast with Girls during the week with a budget, and then on the weekends we were recording Gizmogery on our own. So it was making 2 records simultaneously, and just writing, and that just felt I like that level of productivity. It's like healthy, you know. What MySpace did was it introduced metrics. I didn't like the fact that your songs that you put on there had metrics that like it, because it has a subliminal effect on you. And Spotify to this day, I wish that it didn't show plays, you know. It's not fair. You should just listen to music, and so I think if anything, the negative effects of that have stuck around.
So a lot of the conversation, if you spend enough time online to look for it, because I mean, you mentioned at the sort of open of this, self is ungoogleable. That's still in many ways true. I feel like I look up self and I get like some like skincare product if I have to put band in, and I still don't even get like the band doesn't even come. It's like you that comes up on Google first, like individually.
Yeah.
But if you spend enough time kind of looking for what people have said in the past and what people are saying, where was I going with that point? There's a sort of like a lot of people talk about self in this context that there was like a sort of untapped area of potential like for further growth at the time.
You know, I was getting pressured to make a pop, a more chilled out record. So DreamWorks, you know, they were like, you need a hall monitor. I'd always produce my own albums, and they went to a lot of artists on that label and were like, hey, you guys are, you know, we let you do what you want on the first album because we wanted to have a good reputation for making cool art.
Right.
This time around, we kind of need something for the radio. So who's your dream producer and who's your dream producer? And I just was like, I want to work with, you know, Mickey. I want to work with Mario C, who did the Beastie Boys, and I want to work with Mickey P, who did the Beastie Boys. So Mario did half of it, Mickey did half of it. And I was still bringing in basically finished songs. You know, they would hall monitor the vocals and maybe adding something or chilling something out. They were both just amazing human beings. And so anyway, long story long, made Ornament Crime, played a show, and then DreamWorks was sold basically the week after that. And so we were like, okay, our record is not going to come out. Yeah. So it was all this money and energy and effort. And I was just tired of that, you know, and I'm living in Los Angeles, rent is high. You know, there was just a lot of bills due that my old manager didn't pay, like taxes. So I just had this exorbitant amount of of bills that I had to cover. And I was covering that by doing this extraneous animation work and stuff. And, you know, paying my band every month, whether we were working or not, until we ran out of money. And so when we ran out of money, it was like, I can't afford to pay them anymore.
Yeah.
So there's that whole chestnut. And it's like, we don't have a record to promote, to do a tour. And I've just put out as much music as I can consistently. Just here you go. And the thing about that is, it's not super, it's great when people say, this is so good. This is so good. They say that, but then the next thing that they type or that comes out of their mouth is like, this is great. When can we have more? This is great. When can we have more? And it's just like, how am I supposed to live? You know what I mean? It's like everything costs money, and it consistently costs more money, and people stop paying money for music. And, you know, you don't get paid from streaming. It's like, you will see a percentage of a penny, right? It got to a point where I was like, fine, I'm going to be like Rico Kasich from the Cars. I'm old and ugly, and I know how to make records, and I love being in the studio. So I'm just going to, that's when I got into like, oh, Warped Tour band, next Warped Tour band, let's go. And it was album after album after album. And those budgets went from something that was tangible, where we would produce it, make it perfect, we had time, and then we'd send it to a mixer and then send it to a mastering engineer. Next thing you know, it was like the budget was half. And oh, will you mix it too? And then it was a third. Oh, will you mix it and master it too? It's just like, and I'm co-producing with my friend Jeff Terzo, and he's, you know, just had a son, and so he's supporting a family, and it's just like, we can't sustain this, like,
right.
Working 3 times as hard. So, yeah, I just was like, I can't dedicate time to this right now, because I've done it consistently. I moved out west for 10 years to be closer to my label. So when I wrote a song, I could drive over the hill and be like, "What do you think of this one?"
Yeah.
No? Okay, I'll go cook another one, and I did that. And you know, it didn't salvage my recording career, but I was on DreamWorks, so I would go to the other things. And so I started working on Shrek, and I started working on films. I started working for Hans Zimmer, and I was just like, this is where I belong, you know?
Yeah.
When you make weird music, composition is the place, because and when I look at it, I'm super thankful, because I have friends that like had a big #1 song, and so and they're my age, and they're like, well, I got to go out on the road for 3 months and leave my kids and sing that damn song every night. And it's like, that's what I wanted. That's what you want when you get into rock and roll. You're like, I just want that hit song that everybody loves. And I never had one, because my stuff's weird. And these days I can sit back and think like, wow, I'm so happy. I'm thankful that I had to go a harder route to achieve some sort of personal financial success in music. 'Cause I knew it would happen. I'm like, music is my thing. It is the only thing I'm good at, and I will find my lane, and I've found my lane. And it's wonderful, because I can work from home, which I've always had a home studio historically. And I am, some people are like, I could never work at home, man. I'd never get anything done. Not me. I don't want to have to drive somewhere and be in an office when it's snowing or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still, I made the EP in 2014 just because I had a moment. I just built my dream studio at the time, and I'm like, I'm gonna do an EP. So I just made myself get up and made myself write. And I had my daughter in Los Angeles, and I was like, moved back to Tennessee, built my dream studio, because my family's here. I didn't want to raise her out there.
Right.
So, built my studio, made the EP. And then, we did Jimmy Kimmel, we did Carson Daly, we did New York, Los Angeles, Nashville. Just like, hey, we're still doing it, but, my keyboard player was engineering Prince's albums right before he passed away. And Mac Burris books all the talent on Jimmy Kimmel, and everyone was doing their own things. And there's bands that have done that historically, a band called Pavement that I really love. They live all over the place, and they just like, you want to tour? Yeah, I got a minute. And they rehearse a couple of times and they go tour. And I was like, let's be like Pavement. We'll just do that. And we've all just got, careers now. Yeah, you're in Rome, but for like 2 hours, right? You're not seeing Rome. You're just physically there.
Yeah.
A hard life. And I am more of a studio rat. So I wasn't like super butthurt. I want to make more self records. I released a single in December, but I'm writing 44 minutes of music every 2 weeks. I have 88 minutes of music personally that I'm responsible for a month.
He says it starts off not powerful enough. That's totally crazy. Exactly, right? This has got to be redone. Oh, buddy!
Hanging out.
Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. Okay. You know what? I don't like this piece of music anyway. I think I'm gonna go commando. It might hurt a lot. Moving people! This might hurt a lot. Oh, that's the shit.
Yeah, arpeggiators were pretty hip.
if I'm not doing that, then I'm hanging out with my kids, you know? It's like I want to be a competent father. And you know, my daughter has a rock band. They covered Runaway 2 weeks ago at a show and didn't tell me about it. And I was just, that is incredible.
She said, let's take a ride, just step inside before we get older. She's got eyes in the back of her head, looking side to side and over her shoulders. Just tell me what you want to do, maybe get some food or take in a movie. She said, let's dance till the world explodes and the 50-foot speakers reach overload. She's got me asking her why. Tell me what you're running from. Little runaway. Pain is not the only thing that will catch up to you one day. She's got me asking her why. Tell me what you're running from. Little runaway. Loving is the only thing that will catch up to you one day.
Going into composition was the next inevitable phase for me because these things cost millions and millions of dollars to make. Animation takes years to do. It's a slow process, but you're guaranteed airplay. It's not like they're going to spend all that money and not air it.
Yeah.
And it airs all over the world. And with streaming, yes, streaming numbers suck. They're terrible. They're insulting. But I've now done, you know, I've inadvertently worked for Nickelodeon for 23 years, longer than you've been alive. And so my BMI statement is, you know, 400 pages of just music that I write. And it airs all over the world and gets translated into God knows how many languages. And it's kids' stuff. So parents will put it on and just be like, just watch that so I can do the dishes. And so you get that streaming, and all those tiny fractions of a penny add up to, like, that's my retirement, you know, that's my pension. That's because you don't have that as a musician. You're selling air waves, and you better figure it out while you're competent enough to figure it out. And I'm glad that I was just at least had the foresight and the talent to just be able to stare at a blank cartoon and be like, what does it sound like, you know, and figure out those problems. Because I never, I love making records, but I love scoring. Like, it is just, I can't wait to work every morning. I was like, coffee, oh boy. I'm so excited about my work all the time because it's infinitely rewarding, because it's a brand new challenge every single day, you know. It's not just like, all right, I wrote a good chorus, like, what should we do for the bridge? I don't know. Let's have a sandwich and I don't know what, D, we'll do it in D, like maybe do a shuffle. Like, I live in Nashville, where I started writing songs with professional songwriters. And they just come through and they've got their phone. And they've got a couple of like song titles, like, what do you think about a room service? Yeah, no, okay. How about they spend 2 hours with you and you bang something out, and then they go to the next dude's house and write another one. It's just like lottery ticket. And I was like, I don't want to do that either. Like,
Right.
It seems so impersonal. But yeah, if you win the lottery, then you can be like, okay, I'm gonna get a fire pit for my fire pit.
I am interested in, feel free to decline if it's too personal, but I am interested in talking just a little bit about the passing of your brother Mike and how that impacted the band and yourself, given that you both were the first contributors to the project that is Self, and sort of looking back, just what was he like?
He was my idol, and he was so good at the guitar, and he practiced so hard when we were kids that when he was 18, he was just like, I can legally go join a touring band. And he did. Just like a cover. There were these cover agencies that managed these cover bands and would put them into bars. And the first one that he played with, I was like, wow, my brother's in like a touring band. That's crazy. It was the 80s. He had the hair. He was just virtuoso. And so he would play in that band. And then the band that they were opening for would see him play and just basically be like, we got to get that guy. So he just moved up this rung really quickly of these agencies to like the next thing I knew, he was in Florida with a band called Blackfish, signed to Epic Records. And I was like, that was our deal. We were just like, man, we gotta get signed. That was the thing. And when he got into a band that was signed with Epic, which was one of the big ones, we were just both just in disbelief. And they made a record with Sean Slade and Paul Coldery, who produced Radiohead's first album, and it didn't do anything. And then that was right before Nirvana broke, and they were still doing kind of like an 80s thing, handsome dudes with long hair doing 80s kind of classic-y rock. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen. And so I was making beats in my dorm room, and my brother called me from an island. And he was like, hey, they're not putting out our second record. Can I come write with you? And I was like, come on. And I'd written So Low and like Marathon Shirt for the first album, but it was just beats on a 4-track. And he came in and just put his guitars on them, and we got a record deal. Poof. And I was like, well, I guess we're a band, bro. And so I got to tour with my brother and have him be in my band. And just the most laid back human being on the planet, the most agreeable person on the planet. And there's no one that ever met him that would have a bad word to say about him, except maybe like an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or something. But even I still hang out with all of his ex-wives. And I think it was very sad when he passed away. I was in London on a Beck tour. I'd just gotten there and had to come home. And that sucked, being stuck there,
Right.
Not being able to be with my family for a day or two. But I think about things like he was a huge Lord of the Rings fan. We actually buried him with his copy of the book. On the road, he would finish it and just kind of close it and just like sigh and then just start it over again. So I think about things that have happened in this world since he's been gone. And there's really nothing other than like, I don't think he got to see the Hobbit movies and his children. That's just the Hobbit movies and his children. Like his children are all incredibly brilliant, incredibly successful in what they do. And I went through a long period of being very, very mad at him for not being here for that, and I've since made my peace with that and, just miss him. We all miss him because he was a ray of light and just a brilliant musician. And, I've looked up to him and still do. And it's just also a very strange feeling to be older than my brother. He was 38 when he passed away. So I still look at him as like being 8 years older than me. And yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, take 2.
You understand how she got where she got. The hermit said in the parking lot. She said, how you doing?
Girl, I can see you with the boys in town. But if I can't have you, then my mind's not sound. It's some love knife material. Oh. While you're stepping the Sonic, say you don't want me. I'm a vanilla, that's that R&B. I'm looking all around for somewhere to hide. Your body, girl, I wish I could love you less. Maybe that would be best. I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, cause I couldn't. Trying to do my best to keep myself from loving you to death. I wish I could love you less, but you're impossible to resist. I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, cause I couldn't. So dangerous, just keep me from loving you to death. I wish I could love you less. You'll be so happy and true. Just keep me from loving you to death. I wish I could love you less. I'm so breaking very hard.
Coffee in 10 minutes, they say.
All right.
Or something. All right. Do I just let go? Or is it...
I had been sitting on it for almost 2 years because I was like, I'm going to make a record because I'd moved to a nice place that I could get good drum sounds at. And so I started writing, and I had a moment where I had some time and I wrote that song and finished it and then got busy again and had I have a couple of things that I hadn't finished, but I had one song that I was like, this is what I want to have come out first. Because Love You Less is more of like a white boy soul kind of thing. It sounds like Silk Sonics or something. And I was just like, I don't want to lead with this. This is not what I want to do. But then the whole Tally Hall thing happened. And I just had all these eyeballs on my Spotify. And I was like, I got to put this out. It has, because it's done. And I don't have time to finish anything else.
Right.
So I just dropped it. And I don't know what it did. I guess I haven't looked at the plays, but yeah, people have listened to it, and I got a good response from it. But like a lot of my friends in Nashville write for the paper, and they're reviewers, and they're like, "Yeah, it's just if you're expecting the old stuff, this is not that." It's like,
There were definitely a couple online reviews I read that was just like, "Oh, we're so excited! It's new music." It's not what I was expecting, though. But I mean, personally, it was being that I discovered the self on Spotify is after the song had been released. It was just sort of in there with everything. So to me, it was like I was listening to it all as one big thing. I was like, oh, whatever. And then I read the reviews. I was like, oh, okay. So clearly this meant something to everyone else that it didn't quite catch to me. But
I've said this a million times, but one of the reasons I liked Prince so much was that his voice ties everything together.
Right,
He does the sleazy club track or a gospel song or a rock song or whatever, and it's just like you hear the voice, it's Prince. Like, just don't be so subjective about if there's distortion or if there's a funky bass or something. Just deal with it and see if you dig it. It's the same human being making all of it. And
right.
And that's another thing also, is that as you get older, like every single artist that I've ever loved, they just make kind of crappy music when they get to be my age. And I found several times where I sat down and I was just like, this is crappy. Like, I'm very like comfortable in my life. and I've got every instrument I could ever want to pick up and play, but I'm just not inspired to write something that has all those boxed in rules that Self does. And I left it's a big box. So I just kind of like, man, you can't please all these people. Like,
right.
I paint you something and I just give it to you and you got issues with it. It's just like, well, then don't ask for it. Like, I'm not here to just be like, what do you want on your burger? Oh, chili? You like okay, I've never okay, yep, I'll put that. Yeah, it's your burger. It's like there's no it's not sustainable.
Right. I'd be remiss if I weren't to mention that October of this year marks 30 years of Subliminal Plastic Motives. Looking back, 30 years, it's this sort of twofold question. One, looking back at that first album, kind of what are your thoughts? What are you feeling? And then secondly, you've sort of hinted at this. You were talking about, wanting to write music, with Love You Less and all that. What might the future hold for Self as a sort of project?
I want to do a record, and I have a bunch of cool stuff. I just it's one of those things that has to just be a labor of love. You know, you can't expect like anything in return other than hopefully comments online of people being like, I like this. It's not what I expected or wanted, and it's kind of, the lyrics are shitty. You know, there's nothing, there's very little reward from how crude people are, and because they gotta know that like anyone can access anything about themselves on the internet anywhere for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the, and self fans are diverse, man. Some of them love the fact that you have to just dig a hole to find something. Other people are just like, why don't you do more? I'm like, well, I'm writing more music than anyone I know on a daily basis. And definitely far more music than I did in my 20s. But Subliminal Plastic Motives has a special place in my heart because it was done to analog tape. We didn't even have a computer, and it was all just done out of like, I don't know how to, you couldn't Google how to get a certain sound or make something work. You just had to figure it out. And by the time Breakfast with Girls came out, we were getting computers and we had MIDI and stuff. And MIDI was available then, but I just didn't have anything to work with it. So I just had a sampler and I sampled things because I grew up making beats in my dorm room, early hip hop. It's just like, oh, just take, Steely Dan's Black Cow and loop it up and put a break beat over it and you've got a song. I loved that, and what was weird was that I discovered funk music. I discovered James Brown and Parliament Funkadelic and all these people, the meters that were getting sampled through like Big Daddy Kane records or all these records that I was stealing from the tape shop in the mall. And then I just now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, that came from James Brown's Black Caesar, or oh, that came from Parliament Funkadelic. And just a whole backwards way to learn a history of a sound and a music. But Subliminal was, I was like, this is my shot, you know? So I just tried to cram everything but the kitchen sink into those songs and had to figure out a way to do it. And we did it very interestingly. Had a wonderful engineer, and we were in this beautiful old antebellum studio called the Bennett House. And we were just, the bridge of Marathon shirt is like this, let's make it sound like a jazz club. So I sampled, people chattering at a restaurant and put that in there. And then I sang into like a bowl, like a pan, like a big deep pot. We put a mic in there and I was just like, sang into a pot. Yeah, why not? Sing into a pot. We beat on pots and pans. We did everything. And it's all very live. And, this is before like you had a bajillion loops at your fingertips.
Right.
Because it's more personal because it's farm to table. it's handcrafted, It's not, there's no presets back then.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to wrap it up there. I'll follow up with some of those existential questions we didn't quite get to about being from the South and Tennessee and all that for you to answer whenever you have the time.
Feel free.
Really in no rush. I'm still waiting to hear what anyone thinks about the pitch idea, so it's going to be a minute and I need time to write it, obviously. So
all good.
I think it was an amazing conversation, man. That was really cool, really great to hear about, especially trying not to be too giddy jumping into this. I'm like, all right, calm down, calm down.
Oh, no, it's great hanging with you, and I'm at my computer at all times. So just hit me with any questions you have. I'll gladly answer them, and
all right,
just let me know how it goes. And
absolutely, I will. Thank you so much.
Meeting you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Northeastern, Southwest Mississippi, I'm going to reach my destination. Northeastern, Southwest Mississippi, I'm going to reach my home. Northeastern, Southwest Mississippi, I'll wave to your river as I'm flying over. Northeastern, Southwest Mississippi, never mind the times. Never mind the times. And as a matter of fact, you're just the kind, alone and temperamental. So rewind the clock. rewind the times. And as a matter of fact, you're just the kind, all alone and temperamental. So rewind the clock, the machine, and your one real unison.